welcome to Homestead Corner. I'm Jenny, and today I have got 10 prepper pantry tips for beginners. So when we first get started prepping, it can be very overwhelming. It seems like there's so much to do, but I think it's important to take a step back. And if you do this in just simple steps, you can do this very easily. It does not have to be complicated, and just figure out what works for you and your family, because everybody's going to do it a little differently, and that's okay as long as you are getting accomplished what you need to accomplish. Prepping can be, you can do it on a really big scale or a really small scale. There's lots of ways to go. Today I want to talk about 10 tips for your prepper pantry, because food storage can be some of the most difficult thing to work on. Some prepping aspects are just collecting things or learning things, but food storage, you really need to know a few things about it, and these tips can help you make it a little bit simpler. So the first tip I have is Rome was not built in a day. We need to remember that. It takes time. This is not something that's going to happen instantly overnight. Unless you decide that a $5,000 food kit is right for your family, then doing food storage yourself is going to take time. You can take time to, learn different things and put this together in a simple, easy manner, and affordable as well. Prepping does not have to be expensive. You can do this on a budget, and it stocks up really, really fast. You'd be surprised. Even if you have a very small budget, $5 or $10 a week, you can make this happen and have a huge food storage before you know it. The second tip is make a plan. You need to figure out what you want for food storage. Is it 3 days food storage, 3 weeks, 3 months, 5 years, 10 years? Depending on what you want to do. I think it's a great idea to start small and build on that, so you can see your goals getting accomplished. So if you start off with a 3-day food storage, and then once you have all of that, move on to your 3-week food storage. And if you build on it, you're going to see that progress. And it takes a little bit of time, but every time you add stuff to it, you're going to see it growing and growing and growing. So make your plan and figure out exactly what it is, where you want to start. And, you could set up some long-term goals. We like to do start small, maybe start with a 3-day, give us a certain amount of time to get that done. And then give myself a date to start on my 3-week food storage. And then give myself another date to start on my 3-month food storage. And you can plan that out that way, or you can just, go with, I want to get to this step, and once I get there, then we'll worry about the next step. That's probably easier in the beginning, because that way you're not overdoing it and burning yourself out. It can make you crazy. The third tip is, before you start bringing things home, figure out where you're going to put it. Food storage can be space consuming. It can take up a lot of space. You can do it in a small amount of space. It depends on what you want for food storage. If you're only storing rice and beans, it's not going to take up that much space. They're pretty compact. Just a few buckets in the closet would work. But if you're looking for something that's bigger, more versatile, that's going to work for your family, especially in a longer term emergency, then you're going to have to figure out where to put it. And the 3 key aspects to your food storage are cool, dark, and dry. So you want to look for a space that has the best conditions for your food storage. If all you have is a little space under your bed, it will work. You can do that, but some of your foods are not going to last quite as long, and the cool, dark, and dry is going to give you the longest shelf life for your foods. And number 4, only stock what your family likes. If you do not like lima beans, don't buy lima beans. There is nothing worse than being in a poor situation or a awful situation and having to eat a bunch of food that you don't like. So making sure that these are foods that you do like, it will help you And it's going to be so much better in an emergency situation if you lost your job and all you have is your pantry and you can't afford to buy food for 2 months, but you've got food there. If you like it, it's going to be so much better than having to eat a bunch of stuff you do not like. So stock the foods that you like and, with the longest shelf life that you can. Number 5, slow and steady wins the race. We have to remember that. A lot of times when you first start out prepping or even homesteading, something like that, any kind of thing like that you're getting into, a lot of people, they think go hard or go home. We want to jump in and get this done. But when you do too much too fast, it really can cause burnout and then you quit doing it. And that's not going to help you at all. So doing this in small intervals and taking the next step and the next step, when you start off small and take those steps, it's not difficult that way and you won't get burned out as easily. So you can really take your time, learn different things, get those things into your pantry, get prepared. But doing it over time is really going to help you stick with it instead of, doing a whole bunch of stuff all at once and it just burns you out and you don't ever want to do it again. So definitely slow and steady wins the race. Number 6, water. Water, water, water. You cannot store enough water for a long-term emergency. But what you can do is store as much as you can fit and also store water filters so you can clean your water when you're collecting it. So making sure that you've got water and water filters in there. A lot of people overlook that stuff because water is pretty accessible right now. But in an emergency situation, water is a necessity. You must have it and you got to have a lot of it. So having as much as you can fit in your space that you allow for water is really important, and also stocking water filters so when that water runs out. I mean, you may be able to store enough water, a minimum of 1 gallon per person per day. You may be able to store enough for a few weeks or a month, maybe even a couple of months. But if you've got a large family, it's going to be extremely difficult to store enough water for even a couple of months. You're going to need water filters. So making sure that you figure out what's going to work for you and for your budget and getting that into your preps is really important. Having it as a backup in your pantry is a must, I believe. And number 7, rotate your food. A lot of people will buy food and stick it away. I've got my emergency bucket filled with my emergency food and it can sit there for forever until I need it. Unfortunately, your food is not going to last forever. Some foods are going to last for decades. Your rice, your beans, grains, things like that. Wheat, berries, a lot of those dry goods are going to last a really long time. But if you rotate through them, you never have to worry about them going bad. You work hard for your money and you spend a lot of money on your preps. So making sure that you're using them is really important. So rotating through them. If you keep 50 cans of spaghetti sauce in your preps and they just sit there, you don't want all those to go bad. Every time you use one, put it on the list, get a new one. Just keep replacing what you use. Having a large stock is going to help you when that emergency happens. It'll be there. And you'll have fresh stuff in there if you are constantly rotating your stock. And number 8, think outside the box. I love to look at things as what else can I do with this? So if I'm in the grocery store and I want to stock up on carrots for a certain recipe, well, what else am I going to use them for? I'm not going to want to eat one recipe every day forever. So we want to see what else can we do with this. With your rice, you can also make, we have rice for breakfast sometimes. You can do all kinds of stuff with rice, stir fries, casseroles. Try to think, what else can I do? How else can I use this? What else is it good for? I always try to think outside the box, and it helps me be able to use less things in more ways. And that's wonderful because it is easier to keep your pantry stocked when you know how to use an item in multiple ways. And number 9, learning multiple ways to preserve food. I think that's really important. Dehydrating, it's very basic and simple and easy to learn, I think, because there's not a whole lot that goes into it. Some foods have to be pre-cooked. Some can just go right in, just chop it up and dry it out. But learning which ones can do that with is very important, so you get the best quality and the most nutritious food on your shelf. So dehydrating, freezing, canning, water bath canning. There are loads and loads of videos out there. I have a bunch of canning videos in my preserving playlist, but there are tons of stuff out there. You can water bath can almost anything. Lots of other countries do not have access to pressure canners, and I know a lot of people don't have the money to invest in pressure canners, but water bath canning has been done long before pressure canners were a thing, and we can use those methods and make sure you learn safe practices so you're able to preserve that food and save it, and you can really beef up your pantry by doing the work yourself. And then you've got that skill under your belt in that emergency and you have to do it, you'll know how. And number 10, DIYs are your friend. Learning how to make things yourself and do things yourself is going to save you money. It's going to give you skills, and it's also going to help you build up your pantry. So making sure that you're looking out for those DIYs and something that you normally buy. Now, my pantry is not just food. I also have other supplies in there. So, my cleaning supplies are in there and all those type of things. There are lots of things in my pantry that aren't edible per se, but we need them in an emergency situation. So knowing how to do those things really boosts up your skills. It saves you a ton of money by doing the work yourself, and you've got it in your pantry, and you can do a lot of DIYs with stuff you already have hanging around the house, which is great, and it really helps you in your preparedness. So when that emergency happens, you've got the skills, you've got the supplies, you got everything you need, and you did it on a budget without breaking the bank, which is great. So I highly recommend DIYs. I love to do them. I think the gratification of knowing that I made it and I know what's in it is a wonderful thing. And that's it for my 10 prepper pantry tips for beginners. I think that once you get started, it really is such a great way to relieve stress, to know that you've got what you need to take care of your family in case of a long-term sickness, job loss, economy crash, anything. There are a bunch of different scenarios that can happen, and we all prep for different reasons and things that we think could possibly happen. So I think it's important to, look at your different options, see what you can do, and do the best you can with as little as you can, because that way you can do a little bit more when you're saving at every turn that you can. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!